MKUltra, the CIA's mind control experiments. Imagine a government agency conducting secret mind control experiments on its own citizens. Sounds like a plot from a sci-fi thriller, right? Unfortunately, this was real. In the 1950s, the CIA launched MKUltra, a top-secret program where they tested the effects of drugs like LSD on unwitting subjects. The goal? To control minds and extract information. The fallout was tragic, with many participants suffering severe mental health issues. The program only came to light in the 1970s, leaving the public stunned by the lengths their government would go to in the name of national security. COINTELPRO, the FBI's secret war on activism. The FBI is supposed to protect American citizens, but during the 1950s and 60s, they had another agenda: sabotaging civil rights movements and political organizations. Through a covert program known as COINTELPRO, the FBI infiltrated, monitored, and disrupted groups like the Black Panthers, anti-Vietnam War activists, and even Martin Luther King Jr. The extent of the operation was kept hidden until the 1970s, revealing a government agency willing to go to extreme lengths to silence dissent and control public opinion. The Tuskegee Syphilis Study, a horrifying abuse of trust. In one of the most egregious violations of medical ethics, the U.S. Public Health Service conducted the Tuskegee Syphilis Study on 600 African-American men from 1932 to 1972. These men were told they were receiving free health care, but in reality they were left untreated for syphilis so scientists could observe the disease's progression. Even after penicillin was proven to be an effective cure, the treatment was withheld. The study continued for 40 years, causing unnecessary suffering and death, all in the name of research. The revelation of this study in the 1970s shocked the nation and led to significant changes in medical ethics and informed consent. The Iran-Contra Affair, a secret deal with dangerous consequences. In the 1980s, the Reagan administration found itself embroiled in a major scandal when it was revealed that they had secretly sold arms to Iran, a country under an arms embargo, in exchange for hostages. The funds from these sales were then illegally diverted to support Contra rebels in Nicaragua, despite Congress explicitly forbidding it. The Iran-Contra affair exposed a web of deceit within the government, undermining public trust and highlighting the lengths to which officials would go to achieve their geopolitical aims, even if it meant breaking the law. Operation Northwoods, a chilling plan to deceive the American public. In 1962, the U.S. Department of Defense proposed Operation Northwoods, a shocking plan to stage false flag attacks, including hijackings and bombings, on American soil. The idea was to blame these attacks on Cuba, creating a pretext for a military invasion. Fortunately, the plan was never implemented, but the mere fact that it was seriously considered by top military officials is chilling. It wasn't until the documents were declassified in the 1990s that the public learned just how close the U.S. came to deceiving its own citizens into supporting a war. The Gulf of Tonkin Incident, a false pretext for war. In 1964, President Lyndon B. Johnson announced that North Vietnamese forces had attacked U.S. ships in the Gulf of Tonkin, leading Congress to pass the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, which escalated U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War. However, it was later revealed that one of the attacks never happened, and the details of the other were exaggerated. This misinformation led to a war that would claim the lives of over 58,000 American soldiers and millions of Vietnamese. The Gulf of Tonkin incident remains a stark reminder of how false information can lead to devastating consequences. NSA Surveillance. Big Brother is watching. For years, there were rumors that the U.S. government was spying on its citizens. These rumors were confirmed in 2013 when former NSA contractor Edward Snowden leaked classified documents revealing the extent of the National Security Agency's mass surveillance programs. The NSA was collecting data on millions of Americans' phone calls, emails, and internet activity, often without warrants. The revelations sparked a global debate on privacy, security, and government overreach, showing that the government's surveillance capabilities were far more extensive than the public had ever imagined. Operation Mockingbird, the CIA's influence on media. During the Cold War, the CIA launched Operation Mockingbird, a covert program to manipulate the media and spread propaganda. The agency recruited journalists from major news organizations to promote pro-American views and discredit the Soviet Union. These journalists, often unknowingly, helped shape public opinion in favor of U.S. policies. The operation wasn't fully exposed until the 1970s, when investigations revealed the extent of the CIA's influence over the media. Operation Mockingbird demonstrated the powerful role that information control can play in shaping public perception and policy. The Dalkon Shield Scandal. Profits over safety. In the 1970s, thousands of women were harmed by the Dalkon Shield, an intrauterine device, IUD, that caused severe infections, infertility, and even death. Despite knowing about the risks, the manufacturer, A.H. Robbins, continued to market the device aggressively, prioritizing profits over the safety of their customers. It wasn't until years later, after numerous lawsuits and mounting public pressure, that the company was forced to pull the product from the market. The Dalkon Shield scandal highlighted the dangers of unchecked corporate greed and the devastating impact it can have on people's lives. The Manhattan Project. The birth of the atomic age. In the midst of World War II, the U.S. government secretly embarked on the Manhattan Project, a massive effort to develop the world's first nuclear weapons. The project was so secretive that even Vice President Harry Truman didn't know about it until he became president. The result was the atomic bomb, a weapon of unprecedented destructive power that was used to end the war in Japan. The Manhattan Project not only changed the course of history but also ushered in the nuclear age, with its promise of both incredible energy and unimaginable destruction. The Bayer HIV Scandal. Contaminated blood and corporate deceit. In the 1980s, Bayer's Cutter Biological Division sold hemophilia treatment products that were contaminated with HIV. Even after the company realized the risk, they continued to sell the products overseas, exposing countless people to the virus. The scandal eventually came to light, leading to lawsuits and outrage, but the damage had already been done. Bayer's actions showed the terrifying consequences when corporations prioritize profits over human lives, and it remains one of the most tragic examples of corporate malfeasance in modern history. The CIA and LSD Experiments. Playing with minds. The CIA's fascination with LSD didn't end with MKUltra. The agency continued to experiment with the drug, often administering it to unsuspecting individuals, including its own agents, to study its potential as a mind control tool. These experiments had devastating effects, leading to mental breakdowns, suicides, and ruined lives. The extent of the CIA's LSD experiments wasn't fully known until the 1970s, when congressional hearings brought the agency's disturbing activities to light. The revelations left the public questioning how far their government would go in the pursuit of power and control. The Bohemian Grove. Elites in the woods. Bohemian Grove is a secluded 2,700-acre campground in California where some of the world's most powerful men gather annually for a 2-week retreat. The secrecy surrounding the event fueled numerous conspiracy theories, particularly after it was revealed that the attendees engage in strange rituals, such as the cremation of care, where they burn an effigy symbolizing their worries. While no dark conspiracies have been proven, the exclusivity and secrecy of Bohemian Grove have made it a symbol of the hidden power and influence wielded by the world's elite. The sinking of the Lusitania, a prelude to war. The sinking of the RMS Lusitania by a German U-boat in 1915 was a key factor in the U.S. entering World War I. At the time, the British and American governments claimed the ship was purely a passenger liner, making its sinking an unjustified act of aggression. However, it was later revealed that the Lusitania was carrying munitions, making it a legitimate military target. The incident was used to rally public support for the war, demonstrating how governments can manipulate events to achieve their strategic goals. The business plot, a coup against FDR. In 1933, Marine Corps Major General Smedley Butler revealed a shocking plot. A group of wealthy industrialists had approached him to lead a coup against President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Their goal was to overthrow FDR and install a fascist dictatorship in the U.S., modeled after Mussolini's Italy. Butler refused and testified before Congress, exposing the conspiracy. Although the plot was never fully executed, it was a chilling reminder of how far some powerful individuals were willing to go to protect their interests during the economic turmoil of the Great Depression. The CIA's role in the crack epidemic, a deadly complicity. In the 1980s, rumors swirled that the CIA was involved in drug trafficking during the crack cocaine epidemic. Investigations later revealed that during this time, the CIA was complicit in allowing Nicaraguan Contras to smuggle cocaine into the U.S. The profits from these drug sales were used to fund the Contras' fight against the Sandinista government, a move that contributed to the crack epidemic that devastated American cities. The scandal highlighted the dark side of U.S. foreign policy, where the ends often justify the means, no matter the human cost. Project Sunshine, the morbid quest for nuclear fallout data. In the 1950s, as the world grappled with the realities of nuclear warfare, the U.S. government launched Project Sunshine, a series of studies to understand the effects of nuclear fallout. However, the project took a macabre turn when it was revealed that the government secretly collected human tissue from deceased individuals, including infants, without consent. The tissue was used to study the impact of radioactive exposure, raising serious ethical questions. Project Sunshine exposed the lengths to which the government would go in its quest for scientific knowledge, often at the expense of basic human rights. Operation Paperclip, Nazis in America. After World War II, the U.S. was determined to win the space race and maintain its military superiority. To do this, they secretly brought over 1,600 German scientists, many of whom were former Nazis, to work on American projects. This operation, known as Paperclip, saw men like Wernher von Braun, who had been instrumental in developing the V-2 rocket for Nazi Germany, become key figures in NASA's space program. The operation was hidden from the public for years, revealing a disturbing willingness to overlook war crimes in pursuit of technological advancement. Watergate, the scandal that brought down a president. When 5 men were caught breaking into the Democratic National Committee headquarters at the Watergate complex in 1972, it seemed like a minor incident. However, it unraveled into one of the biggest political scandals in U.S. history. It turned out that President Richard Nixon and his administration were deeply involved in the break-in and subsequent cover-up. The scandal led to Nixon's resignation in 1974, marking the first time a U.S. president had stepped down in disgrace. Watergate proved that even the highest office in the land is not immune to corruption and abuse of power. Big tobacco and cancer, the deadly cover-up. For decades, tobacco companies insisted that smoking was safe, despite mounting evidence to the contrary. Internal documents released in the 1990s revealed that these companies had known since the 1950s that smoking caused cancer and other health problems. Yet, they actively misled the public, suppressed research, and used deceptive marketing to hook millions on their deadly products. The revelation of this conspiracy led to massive lawsuits and tighter regulations, but not before countless lives were lost to smoking-related illnesses.